Hello and welcome to today's session. Thank you to the 53 people that have subscribed so far to the channel, and today we're going to be working on some release of the neck. So we'll just take a moment to find a comfortable seated position, allowing our breath to slow down and soften. Trying to breathe in and out through the nose and focusing on this nice slow intake of breath, drawing down into the belly and up into the chest. Extending the exhale slightly longer than the inhale. We'll try and utilize that style of breath throughout the session today. And we just begin to blink the eyes open, allowing our gaze to come up into the front of the room. And we might want to utilize a yoga block or a pillow, potentially to elevate through the hips if we're rounding through the spine. And we're finding that we can't sit up straight, that might be a bit more comfortable with the elevated hip position for that hip crease. Allow the spine to be more vertical without that rounding going on as easily. So we're going to set up for success. Maybe elevating the hips, maybe staying on the mat, maybe in a seated position in a chair even. Once we're sat up tall, we can have a couple of shoulder rolls, 1 or 2 forward and back. Then we're going to bring our hands out towards the side of the mat. I'm going to try and mirror what I'm doing on camera for you here. So I'm going to let my head drop over to the left hand side. Bring my right hand out to the side to extend that opening of the side of the neck. I have the option here to bring in my opposite hand, so that would be my left hand in this case, to the side of the head, and we're not pulling down here, we're using it like a paperweight. So that's just going to draw that head down to get a bit of a deeper stretch. That is very much optional. We want to be very careful when we're trying to open up through the neck, not to overdo it and stretch too far. So as a result, as opposed to 90 seconds to 5 minutes, maybe even in a lot of yin holds that we do, the neck we want to limit it to between 30 and 60 seconds. So as always, if we find it's a bit too intense, if it goes from a level of comfortable discomfort into pain, we want to come out of the pose early, and this is no exception with our neck stretches that we're doing today. So it gets a bit too much, if it increases that intensity from discomfort to pain, making sure we listen to the body, either softening or coming out slowly from the pose completely. There's never any pressure to push too far. Just release the hand from the side of the head, allowing the gaze to come to about 45 degrees. So I'm looking down at that left knee, chin coming lightly towards the chest. Same as before, we could use a hand on the back of the skull this time, not on the side. Lightly drawing the head down with the weight of the arm and hand as opposed to pulling. Not forcing the body into position. That is, as always, the key. Allowing the breath to roll up and down the torso from belly to chest and back down again, with that last 20 or maybe 10% of the breath rolling into the chest. And this actually might be that little bit more noticeable, that expansion of the chest, as we have this 45-degree variation of our neck stretch here. And we can release that left hand from the back of the head. Let the head just drape down to center in a neutral position, chin to chest. We'll just be here for a few seconds to try and allow a bit of a rebound, bit of a slow recovery of the neck so that it's not just reversing and opposing what we've just been doing. Allowing the muscles and connective tissue to slowly come back to a neutral position before bringing the gaze back up the center. Re-establishing a couple of rolls here of the shoulders, maybe 1 or 2 forward and back. Might feel good for you. Doesn't have to be fast, doesn't have to be quick. And we'll set up for the opposite side, so the head this time can slowly just fold over towards our right. Having our left hand out towards the side can extend through the side of the body, extending that line from the neck to the fingertips. And then that right hand again has an option, could come out to the side of the head, gently weighting, not pulling the head down. And sometimes it can be quite easy to start rounding through the spine here as we lean over to our right side on this occasion. We want to try and keep that spine nice and vertical. So if we do find we're beginning to arch and round through that spine, over to the side of which we're stretching, just trying to check in with the body, straightening through the back, so it's the neck that we're stretching here. As with all of our poses, we can keep our eyes closed. And on these more sensitive regions, that might be actually quite a nice thing to do, because we might be able to get that little bit more awareness of the deep stretch and then know when enough is enough for us. Then releasing that right hand down. We can bring that gaze again down to 45 degrees towards our right knee. Pointing with the nose, chin to chest, possibly bringing our right hand on the back of the skull, weighting the head down, not pulling the head down. Keeping that spine nice and vertical, try not to round forward. And these techniques, again, we're trying to hold between 30 and 60 seconds, but we could do this anywhere really within reason. We could be in the office, we could be at home, when we wake up, when we go to bed. It could be on a lunch break. It doesn't have to necessarily be this whole sequence. That being said, this does allow a nice opening of the neck throughout different ranges of motion. But if we do find that we want to do this in our day-to-day, it might be a good option to just make sure that we do our right and our left and opposing sides in any of these movements and poses, just to keep balance, just so that we don't increase imbalance as a result. We can then release that hand down, bringing our chin to chest in the center of the body, having a few seconds here, a couple of rounds of breath to stay in that neutral position. And inhaling, we can bring that head up to a neutral position there. The hands can come onto the knees with a few rolls of the shoulders forward, a couple of rolls back, taking our time again not to rush that. And sitting up nice and tall. Allow that chin to come down towards the chest again. And then bringing the fingers interlaced in front of us. In a cupping position on the back of the skull, we can flare the elbows out, drawing the head down with the weight of the arms again, not pulling. Allowing that chin to come more towards the chest, lightly. And again, if we find that's too intense with the hands or arms, that is an optional addition. We could just let the head hang in position if that's better for us today. So just a few more rounds of breath here. Nice and slow and steady before releasing the hands from the back of the head. Bringing them down towards the knees or to the side, letting the head come up nice and slow to a neutral position, and looking towards our left shoulder. Inhale into center, exhale to the opposite side to our right. And just repeat that a few times. Inhale into center, exhale to the side. Inhale into center, exhale to the side. And coming back to the middle. The chin can lift, allowing the head to raise, and then on an exhale, drop down in a clockwise or anti-clockwise motion. Doesn't matter too much which one you do, as long as you're allowing yourself to recognize which way around we're going. So we're exhaling down as that circle begins. At the bottom of that nice slow rotation, we can allow the inhale to then let the head raise back up. Drawing the chin down towards the chest as we circle down, and inhaling to raise up. Coming to center and then going in the opposite direction. So I'm going anti-clockwise here. You might find you go in the opposite direction, but as long as we're doing the same amount on each side, then there's no issues there. Nice slow circles, trying to almost point with the chin and the nose to accentuate that rounding of our circle. Exhale down, inhale to raise up towards the sky. And then just coming back to a neutral position in the center, bringing the chin back up. So hopefully you've enjoyed today's session. It's a little bit of a different one where we're focusing on one specific area of the body as opposed to trying to open through larger compound areas, if you will. There's weekly classes coming up for all variations of Yin Yoga and some more slow flows as well. So make sure if you wish to follow along with those to subscribe. I really appreciate all 53 people that have to date. And if there's anything specifically that you wish to come into future sessions, please let me know. I'll do my best to accommodate that. Hopefully you have a great day. Thank you for joining me today.